What's up, everyone? It is Denise Salcedo here for the Sportster, and I am so excited because today I am going to be chatting with none other than the Bollywood Boyz. What's up, guys?
What's up? You said kind of you need a more Bollywood in there.
I do. You know what? I love the way that you say it. That's fantastic. But here's the thing. I have to say, as a longtime wrestling fan and kind of seeing everything that you guys did in WWE, I was always such a big fan of you guys. And so, I just want to tell you guys, you added so much anytime that you were on screen. You always kind of brought this energy, this presence where no matter what role you were in, you added so much to it.
No, thank you. No, that was our thing, right? We're not the biggest guys, so for us, we had to lean and rely a lot on our charisma and our personality as well. But to your point, and we just wanted to bring that Bollywood flavor every time that red light was on.
Yeah, that's the thing. Well, we learned that very early on in our WWE careers, and you get placed in different spots, and it's all about longevity. You do comedy, you do serious stuff, you do tag team work, you do whatever it is, right? And you just gotta keep surviving and keep going along. And I think we did really well for 5 years.
I think so too. I think adding that versatility is very nice. It's good to have the option of being, having to, being able to bring out that charismatic comedic side of yourself. There's a lot of people that don't have that, but I will say you guys definitely did. So let's kind of start there because I feel like there's so many different things that we can touch on, but I want to start off with talking about what were your initial thoughts when you first got split up from Jinder Mahal, considering again how much you guys brought to his act?
Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think at that point, we were kind of all ready to do something fresh and different because we had a good 2.5 year, almost 3 year run with him, and I mean he was WWE champ for almost 6 months and multiple main events and pay-per-views. But eventually, it's how much do you keep doing? And I think by that time we did get split up. It was a good time because it felt like it was time to branch off and do something different.
Yeah, for us, I mean, we were there's only so much you can do standing on the sideline. We wanted to get in the ring. We wanted to start doing tag work, tag matches. So for us, we were hey, put us on NXT, put us on 205 or wherever you see an opening for us to allow us to do our tag work. And because to my brother's point, we had peaked after he dropped the title to AJ, we felt. And, even at that time, we were okay, maybe this is it for us. But, we still carried on for another 1.5 years with Jinder, doing the run with him and doing 6-man tag matches with him. But, obviously you get into this business, with dreams and aspirations of winning, multiple matches on your own as a tag team. And, we wanted to do all that stuff. So it was a perfect timing for all of us. It had to kind of run its course.
And that's the thing I was curious about because I didn't know that maybe you guys wanted to go ahead and break away from that and kind of do your own thing. But now kind of hearing you guys talk about it, it makes all the sense in the world because, we've talked about, you guys had so much, that you wanted to offer. And, the only way to really do that is if you guys get put in that spotlight.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing. When we got signed and a couple of months later, it was we got called to SmackDown. They're hey, you guys are doing this. And we realized it was an opportunity. And we knew we were going to be, kind of on the sidelines. And it was Jinder's. He was the forefront of it. And we knew that. But at the same time, man, the opportunity was huge. He was WWE champion. We traveled the world. We literally were on every show, every pay-per-view. It was amazing. It was you don't get that experience unless you're WWE champion. And we were on that WWE champion schedule.
Yeah, and we got to rub shoulders with the main event guys like Randy and Shinsuke, AJ, Cena, all these guys that Jinder was working with along the way, and here we are, learning from those guys that are in these main event pictures with them, and them offering us, opportunities like my brother's Punjabi prison bump off the cage, or Randy giving us a spotlight to shine at Backlash. So there's so much we're grateful for, and that run with Jinder, that's a blessing for us.
Yeah. I mean, sorry,
go for it.
When we came to Smack, it was Road Dogg who kind of filled us in what we were doing, and I remember him saying he did that with Jarrett. In 95, 96, the roadie, and he was kind of Jarrett was the forefront, and he was on the background sidelines, and that was our thing. And it was it's just the way to break in, get your foot in the door, and get your name out there to the entire world.
And I'm sure you guys, obviously you finally, you break apart from Jinder Mahal, but you kind of want to get to that next level in your careers in WWE. Tag team wrestling isn't always necessarily presented in the best light. So for you guys, when the release finally came, did you feel like you had enough time to really show what you guys can offer? Like, let's talk a little bit about some of the things you wish you would have been able to sort of show the fans, especially when it came to tag team wrestling.
Yeah, I mean, Gerb could jump in here, but I feel like when we were on 205 this last year and a half, this pandemic was our best work. We were going out there, it was just, hey, go wrestle, because 205 was more of just like, there's no real storylines, just go wrestle. And I felt our work was just, the best it's ever been. And it was the moment we were like, okay, let's just wait, be patient. Maybe now we'll get that opportunity, but it kind of never came. But also I feel like we were there for 5 years and you kind of squeeze as much as you can out of that run. But
I mean, for us, like my brother was just saying, like, being on 205 the last year and a half was our confidence as far as in-ring work went. We were like all-time high. We're like, okay, when you're on the sideline, you kind of lose your legs, so to speak, and you lose your in-ring conditioning, so to speak. So, for us, it was like, okay, now our wind is back. We're wrestling every week. We were booked constantly. And not only were we booked, we were flying in from Vancouver to Orlando for like
205.
Yeah, for 10 months during a pandemic. So like, we were open for business for anything. We were like, hey, put us any spot. And if you rewind a little bit, like even before the pandemic happened, we were showing up on NXT, we were working on SmackDown, we were doing tags on Raw, we were doing stuff on 205. So we were those guys that were being placed in every different situation. But for us, we're like, okay, let's just steer the course. Eventually we'll get a break here. Maybe we'll break through here. Because, things change overnight in this business. So for us, it was like, just go out and do what you're asked to do, make the most of it, and maximize your minutes. And I think we did a really good job of doing that for the last 5 years.
To quickly touch on Gerb's point, I remember we used to talk to Shawn Michaels a lot, and he was very instrumental in us getting our confidence and the stuff we were doing on 205 differently before. But I remember him saying, Macho Man once told him, is the goal of this business is stay booked. Stay booked. Right. It doesn't matter if main event, open. If you're booked, you got a job. And if you look at our careers, we were always booked. You know what I mean? There was very few times where we were not booked, whether it was doing stuff with R-Truth 24/7, Jinder Mahal, then we're on 205, and like we were constantly booked on 205. So we always felt like we were on the right path because we were booked. And that's the goal in any wrestling company is, hey, I'm booked. I'm doing something. And so we were always in that spot. So it was always like, okay, we're doing something right.
So, you talk about always being booked, doing something right. You talk about, being used in all of these different facets, all of these different things that you've been doing, flying out from Vancouver to Orlando, etc. So when these releases were happening, you guys, you weren't part of the first rounds of releases. Was there a part of you that thought, maybe we'll be next on that chopping block? Or were you guys kind of like, did it come out of nowhere for you?
Well, last year when the pandemic first happened and they released like 50 people in one day, I remember that day we were like, oh man, like, okay, the call or the text can come any second here. But once we got through that, and then we were still sitting around at home for like another 6 months because of the border closures in Canada and the US. And then finally we get to work, and you saw the releases happen post WrestleMania, the first set and the second set. And then the third set, we're like, okay, like maybe we're okay because we're constantly booked, we're constantly flying. And so, yes, to answer your question, a little bit took us by surprise as I was like, okay, we didn't see this chopping block coming anytime soon. But I think we were both
I was just going to say, like, you missed like 4 rounds of release.
Yeah,
you kind of start feeling like, okay, I'm okay. But eventually, how many can you escape? Can you skip when you're a guy on 205? Really? So, but yeah, no, I mean, it was weird. Like, part of us felt relief because we were lucky, and we've always, Gerb and I have talked about this many times. Like, we had a really good run. And we got to work with so many legends. We literally traveled the world with WWE. A lot of guys just stayed in Florida. You know what I mean? Like, we literally were on the WWE full-time road schedule. We experienced it. We had some really cool moments with guys like Randy and all that stuff. So when it happened, we're like, maybe this, we've done as much as we can in this. Sometimes you just kind of become part of the furniture, you're just kind of there. And you get in that rut. So we felt like maybe time now to, go spread our wings. And
again, the big thing is, we're like, again, we were blessed. Like, 2 guys from Vancouver, 5 years, make the most of every situation we were given and all the great memories we had traveling the world. So, nothing but like, there's like zero. I mean, obviously, as brothers growing up, we wanted to win tag titles. We wanted to main event, tag matches and stuff like that, which I'm sure we'll still get to one day down the road. But, right now our focus is just to make the most of our situation now and, stay positive, stay focused. And sorry, when we did get fired, we were literally at wrestling practice. We had just rolled up with our boots in our hands. I had my Bret Hart workout socks on, and our brother's got his Bret Hart socks, and we were ready to go in, so work out. And when we got the call, we literally got the call, I think 30 seconds apart from each other in the same location.
Who got it first?
I think Gerv.
I got it first, yeah.
And did you tell him, or were you guys kind of just like, is this like are they firing us together as a pair, separately? What's going on?
They fired one and kept you.
No, I think we 30 seconds apart, and we saw each other right outside the back of the school there, and where we train, and we're like, all right, let's just get in and let's get back to business.
I will say this, like, when you get fired, when 97, I think it's been about 97 wrestlers in less than a year who got fired. When you get fired like that, you don't feel too bad. You don't feel like it's you. If it was just 10 releases, then you kind of feel like, okay, I didn't live up to this. I didn't, whatever. When that many, like, it's just this chopping block, you don't really feel too bad about it. Because, like, it's not us, and look at the guys who've been released. It's really not, and like the feedback we were getting, and again, being booked and all that stuff. It's like, okay, it wasn't us. This is just a whole different, like, obviously the shakeup that's been happening. It's just a different direction for a company. And so it's like, it doesn't feel too personal in that sense.
And I'm glad that you also see it that way, because it is true. Like, you're looking at some of the names that are also released and you're just thinking to yourself, like, man, like, I can't believe this. And a lot of those names are surprising. But I also want to touch up on your point that you said about the fact that, 5 years in WWE, you guys got to show a lot, because there were talents that got released that they were there. They had just signed maybe 2019, didn't get to do much during the pandemic. And then, they were cut. So it's almost like they couldn't build off of what they did in WWE, built their name to, kind of help them afterwards. And it's really just, left up on your, your work ethic. But at least with you guys, like, I feel like you guys still had, like, so much of like that WWE name that can help you carry on. And then on top of that, you add your work ethic to that. So it's like you have more options, more possibilities.
Yeah. And as far as timing to get released, it's like, now the world's open back up, things are starting to look a little bit more normal. And there's work out there, and there's possibility, and there's moments for all of us to go out there and achieve success that we probably couldn't achieve elsewhere. So we're still, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna be like, that's why we're excited, and like, because everything's always worked out in our careers. Like, we think when we got signed, there was this kind of surge of, hey, cruiserweights, the CWC, that's why we got brought in, and that, I don't think that's going to happen for a few years, but it was just like, everything always worked out in our careers. The Cruiserweight Classic stuff happened, the run with Jinder happened, and 3 years doing the 205, like, all this cool stuff we did. And now it's like the world's opening up. Independent wrestling is huge. There's all these other companies that are making so much noise, and now we have this huge opportunity to do all this. So it's kind of like that's where the positivity comes from. It's like, things just always happen to work out. And that's just, you got to look at life like that.
And you and I were talking about that a little bit off the air, where, like, now, when you guys first got started, when a lot of people first got started, really the only option to have a legitimate career in pro wrestling was to go with WWE. Yeah. So now, kind of knowing that you have, there's so many different companies, there's all of these, independents as well. How do you guys feel knowing that, you now have an option to make an actual real living outside of WWE? And I also kind of want to know how fast or how quickly after the release did you guys start to, get the ball rolling with getting those bookings going, etc.?
I mean, as far as the bookings go, like, right away, we were like, okay, we have ideas in mind that we maybe, weren't approved with WWE. So now we're like, okay, now we could do that. We were right away, we're like, okay, there are things that with the whole Bollywood shtick that we wanted to do that we couldn't do. Now we could do that, and we don't have to have like 10 people approve it for us, or like, we can just go out, and if it's a success, if we succeed, that's on us. If it doesn't, that's on us too. We don't need to like worry about, hey, should we pitch this idea? Should we knock on someone's door and ask them? So there's a lot of more creative freedom. Obviously now we can just go out and just try things, and we're super stoked because right after the release happened, we did have a promotion from all over the world. Like, not only in North America, but like, like India, for example, obviously, is such a big country, such a big market for wrestling, and like, the Middle East and the Philippines. So all these promotions that are reaching out to us to bring us to their country, because you got to remember, like, we not only do we cover, like, obviously Canada as far as talent goes, but the whole other side of the world too, whereas India is a big market for pro wrestling. And I feel like as far as Indian talent that's ready and TV ready to go, because there's a big difference between being wrestlers and being TV wrestlers. And I feel like we're TV wrestlers who are ready to definitely break out and showcase what we could do.
Yeah, and just kind of going back to your question, wrestling's booming, so it's kind of like, okay, you get released and you're like, okay, I know I'll land somewhere. There's a bunch of companies that have TV deals, but just independent wrestling, you could make a lot of money. I mean, when we did Talk is Jericho with Chris just like a month ago, and we were just talking off air, and he's like, there's a lot of guys who are not signed to these TV companies that are making great money on the independents, selling their T-shirts on pro wrestling tees, and just being on their own schedule, which seems so kind of like freeing. You could just book yourself whenever you want, go wherever you want, and don't have to have the stress of like being part of this huge billion-dollar organization either, right? So there's just so many opportunities. So when the release did come, you're kind of like, okay, I'm good. Something will pan out, like it always does. And it's as wrestlers, it's very freeing.
And going back to your point, Denise, sorry, like you said, 5 years. I mean, 5 years of experience that we're bringing outside from WWE to the outside world. So that's a long time, and I feel like we'll be okay as far as name recognition goes.
No, and that was one of the things too, and I want to add this. And so when the releases happened, when you guys got released, I remember being on a podcast afterwards with a couple of people, and we were talking about if we were running a promotion, if this was our promotion, out of the talents being released, who would you take from those names? And my answer was the Singh Brothers. And I was like, I would pick them because I feel that they can bring so much to the table. Like, we talked a lot about the personality, etc., all of that in the beginning of this podcast. But I also kind of, brought up the fact that I feel like you guys can do so much when it comes to like the tag team wrestling, especially with tag team wrestling booming right now. And there being so many great teams to work with. I was like, hell yeah, the Singh Brothers would be my go-to if I could pick out a name from anybody in this list. So you're welcome. If only I had a promotion, this would be great. But let's talk about DEFY Wrestling, because you guys, I've been told by Matt that you guys are going to be part of several dates with DEFY Wrestling, including their show in Los Angeles. So I'm going to let you guys kind of give us a little bit more information on that. And what can you tell us?
Yeah. So honestly, like when we were in WWE, and this is God honest truth, DEFY would have so much buzz, and you would see it online, and you would see these matches, you see the crowds, and they'd be just so hot. And so when we got our release, it was very important for us to be working with people that have that buzz and a company that's just you want to be a part of and just segue in. And we're excited. DEFY is going to be our home base, and September 25th in Seattle, Washington, that's our first post WWE match, and we're very excited to take part in that.
I mean, for us, even DEFY, like, they got some great up and coming tag teams. They got the tag team champs, the Midnight Heat. Obviously, our goal is, like we were saying, like, win tag team title, make some noise out here. So we're definitely eyeing them. But as far as like young talent goes, like, you got Nick Wayne and Cody Chun out there. Nick Wayne.
Why don't they take us on September 25th?
There you go. Yeah.
Wayne
there you go.
Hey,
yeah.
We're
young kid.
down.
Yeah, we're ready.
Awesome. Oh my God, this is so exciting. So September 25th, you guys are officially making your return to wrestling. I mean, what is the preparation now? I'm looking at the dates. I'm like, you got about a week and a half to go. So what is the preparation for you guys right now?
Well, just going back. So when that call came, like, so even before we get to that phone call when we got released, obviously there's no live events happening. There's no house shows happening before all that, took place. So brother and I were always training, in the ring, staying ready no matter what. So when that call came, we continued to train. After that call came, we continued to train because, there's nothing like being prepared. So we're prepared. We're ready. Our legs are ready. I mean, we've had my last match. I wrestled with a dislocated shoulder. I finished it with a dislocated shoulder. Most painful thing I've ever experienced in my life. So I've had 3 months to recover. Rehab. Brother's done his rehab. We're ready to go. We're ready to rock and roll and bring that Bollywood flavor to.
And honestly, we have a chip on our shoulder. We got something to prove. We talk about, hey, we didn't do this, but we don't want to be those guys who are like, we didn't know. Now's our time. The world is open.
Yeah.
DEFY is ready to bring us in. We're going to prove why we're the best tag team in the world. We get to prove why we're the best tag team in the world. And it's going to start on September 25th. And if Wayne and Chung, they want to come down and take us on, and hey, let's do it. And then there's Portland. I think there's October 9th.
October 9th, Portland. And then, like you said, Los Angeles coming up October 14th. Yep. So, I mean,
we're going to be there.
Yeah, we're ready. We're ready to rock and roll. And, you know, the tassels are going to be on. Maybe not. Maybe the tassels won't be there. Like, I don't know. No spoilers anymore. Maybe we're changing up our look. I mean, we dyed our hair.
We should probably get rid of that butter chicken for a while. We've been eating a lot of butter chicken.
Yeah.
And I was actually going to ask you, you know, what can the fans expect from the Bollywood Boyz? You know, this new reinvigorated version of the Bollywood Boyz.
Yes, we are motivated beyond words.
Yeah.
And I am being so honest. I want to go hard. I want to go 100%. I want to dance. I want to party at the show. I want the people to be dancing. But when that bell rings.
And the best thing is, Denise, the best thing is, like, when we did get released, like, God, man, like, we had people that reached out that they didn't give us 30 seconds to sulk. Like, we had, you know, our mentor, everybody knows Bret, you know, Bret Hart, like, right away, he texted us and he was there. And, like, you know, a guy like Mick Foley reaching out and, like, Randy Orton reaching out. So, like, we're beyond blessed to have so many greats, you know, that have our back and that want to see us succeed. So we're ready, man. Like, we're ready to rock and roll.
I was going to ask you about that too, because, you know, you had people like Mick Foley, you had Bret Hart, you had Ricky Morton. I mean, how did it feel to have the support from people like that in the business, legends, and especially even Bret Hart, who's somebody that, you know, you guys have had, you know, history with, somebody that, you know, you guys are big fans of, etc. A mentorship. How did that feel?
So honestly, like, we talk about what the fans expect. When you have that many legends cheering you on, and then when we show up to a venue like September 25th in Seattle for DEFY, like, we are ready. When I say we are ready to prove something to the wrestling world, it's like, okay, we're ready to prove something big. We are the best. And that comes from that confidence of, like, all these legends believe in us. There's a reason to believe in us, because we know we have that untapped potential. We don't want to just talk about it.
Yeah.
We're show it now.
You know, a lot of people get released, they point fingers, they blame people, and they're like, "Oh, this didn't happen." We got no time for that. You know, it's all on us. You know, we staying focused, staying ready. And, like, you know, I just saw Bret a couple of days ago. I was out in Calgary with my family, so I was like, almost like, you're starting a new chapter. You got to get the blessings of the people that have inspired you. And from where we come from in our Indian culture, that's how we roll, right? You know, you get those blessings and you just go out and you just prove it. Don't point fingers. You don't play the name game. Just go out and just do it.
I love that. I was going to say, people like Bret Hart don't just throw, you know, compliments around to just anybody. So, you know, to have somebody like him to, you know, say all these good things about you guys, etc., it goes a long way.
No, we appreciate that. Thank you so much.
So, guys, before we wrap up, one final question. And I know that this is I don't know if it's going to be hard or easy to answer, but what keeps you motivated? And also, where would you guys like to see your career, I don't know, in like a year or two from now?
Well, I think I speak on both our behalf when I say what keeps us motivated. Our parents, straight up. You know, like, our family, our parents. You know, they've done so much for us. They've given us so much during our life. You know, our upbringing. So we want to just give back to them. That's our biggest thing. You know, they're immigrant parents from India that came through the hardships, and, you know, it wasn't easy for them. So for us, like, they took our release harder than we did. Like, straight up, that's the God honest truth. So we have to like my brother was saying earlier, we have a chip on our shoulder. We have a lot of things and a lot of people to prove wrong right now.
And like, year and a half from now, honestly, just, you know, you grew up wanting to be like on wrestling magazines. You want to be doing all this stuff where you're this respected wrestler traveling the world. That's what we want to do. We want to be traveling wrestlers who are going from promotion to promotion to promotion, and just taking on the best wrestlers. And hey, we want to prove our merit. We don't want to, again, like you talk about, we don't want to be those guys who talk about it. You know, we love wrestling. We've been doing it for almost 15 years now. And now we get the chance to just go out there and just be traveling wrestlers. Like, we grew up watching these guys, and like guys like Ric Flair, who were just traveling the world, you know, and you want to kind of live that life of just being that wrestling champion who just travels the world. And that's where we want to be a year and a half, 2 years from now.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you both so much for taking the time out of your day to come and talk to me. I'm excited that I'm going to be seeing you guys at the DEFY Wrestling Los Angeles show on October 14th. So that's going to be very exciting. I'll make sure to go in and say hello or something so we can meet in person. It'll be fantastic. Yeah. But to everybody watching, do not forget to give this video a like, subscribe to the channel. And before we go, please feel free, guys, to plug in any of your social medias or anything you guys want to plug in.
Yeah, we have a wrestling tee store and Bollywood Boyz. A lot of cool stuff up there. Girl, you want to give our booking email?
Bollywood booking 10@gmail.com.
Yeah. Put you on the spot there.
Don't worry. I'm going to put all of the links. I'll put the email. I'll put all of that in the description box. So that will be there. All of the information that you need will be in the description box below. Thank you guys so much for watching. And as always, do not forget that DEFY Wrestling returns to Seattle, Washington on September 25th. Then on Saturday, October 9th, DEFY will be in Portland, Oregon. And then that October 14th show, Hellbent in Los Angeles, DEFY Wrestling will be making their debut. Until next time, I'm Denise Salcedo. These are the Bollywood Boyz, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye.